Explain how entities like that are able to use dark pools to their advantage, where the retail guy.
Well, we'll talk about so when that happened, when dark pools started allowing high frequency traders to intersect with institutions, we got into a situation where some of the same old games that the institutions were trying to get away from in the lit pools started happening in dark pools. So what you had, I'm talking about one practice right now very quickly that is really bad, okay, and is still conducted to this day. At least it's surveilled for these days, at least among major dark pools. But like 2 or 3 years ago, this stuff was all over the place, and no one was protecting institutions from it. So it's called latency arbitrage. We're going to write that down. Latency arbitrage.
You have fancy words here for you guys.
Okay, what latency arb does is it says, I am going to take advantage. Let's say I'm an HFT. I'm going to take advantage that the dark pool has to trade within the national best bidder offer.
Right. Has to trade in between the spread.
Or at the bid or the offer.
At the bid,
right? It means it's bounded by it, right? You can't have a trade through the bid offer, right? But certain HFTs realized that many of these dark pools had not really invested that well
in
technology, and we're all defining that compliance with what we call the stock information processor fee, or the regulatory fee, the national best bidder offer, which is typically slower than many of the direct access fees. So one of the common games was to use my super fast colo feed here in the lit pool, and I'd actually notice that the market, maybe let's say a particular stock went down a tick.
Yeah.
Okay? Maybe even down 2 ticks.
Right.
At that moment, if I was really, really fast, I could try to ping a dark pool.
Yeah.
And I could trade at a price that was actually outside of the MBBO. So I could sell to the institution. I could sell at a price that was actually above the best offer.
And that was just because their tape is slow.
Yes, and this particular bank, thinking of one in particular, would let these trades occur. So the market is, let's say it's a stock is 30.01 bid and 30.02 offered.
Yeah.
And what happens is, it goes down the tick, so it's now 30.
Right.
And bid and now 30.01 offered. In this particular case, a firm may try to sell at 30.02 in the dark pool. Okay, and that may actually be possible. I mean, you could argue what the probability is because of the he's trying to sell on the offer, but the point is, there's some movement in this stock down, where it even would make sense for him to try to sell the bid at 30.01, right? At some point, he can still sell above this offer if he can find the slow counterparty. Now, what does he do? He immediately exits his position. So let's say he's able to sell at 30.02. Well, he can scalp a riskless penny by buying back on the exchange.
So to summarize, guys, basically what we're talking about here is that, for you tape readers out there who are really looking at bid and ask and who are really trying to analyze the dark pools, this goes to show you, these examples goes to show you that it's a lot harder to figure out what essentially, that buyer or seller is doing on that dark pool. And there's a lot more information that you need to go after. One other thing that I wanted to ask you before we close this out was, how do you get access to these dark pools? How do you get access? How do you use these things? I mean, one of the biggest disadvantages for you guys is that you can't use them. You can't get access to them, but you see them on your tape because they're 4 decimals instead of 2. So how do you get access?
Yeah, I guess I would argue that there are a number of semi-pro, what I think of as semi-pro brokers out there that attract order flow that's toxic enough that the broker can't really sell it.
Okay.
And that has clientele that's just sophisticated enough to demand access to certain dark routes,
Okay.
right? So there'll be scrapers that'll go across many dark routes. So I think, if you are a very active trader, you should at least open up a test account with one of these, more professional-oriented. They're still retail, but it's on the high, call it the more professional end of retail.
Semi-pro.
Semi-pro, and you're going to have access to order types. You should have access to midpoint orders, to hidden order types,
Right.
and to dark routes.
Right.
And the reason why those are not available to you in your standard retail package is that they don't want you to pick a route. They want, because
Right.
they don't get paid a payment for order flow fee
Right.
for what's called directed order flow. So
Right.
if you choose where you want it to
They
go,
don't get paid.
they don't get paid
They
for
don't
that.
get paid. They want the retail. They want the dumb flow.
They want the flow that can be smart routed,
Right.
dumb flow, smart routed, and that means that that flow is unlikely to be going to some of these routes where real liquidity exists.
All right, guys. So that wraps it up for this market structure episode. We will be back. Saying Lucci, Haim Bodek. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.